Hi, I'm Kristen Quinn, and I'm a professor of accounting at Northern Essex Community College. I've been teaching accounting for the last 7 years, and I've been using CengageNOW for 6.5 years. One of the biggest problems that I have is engaging students in accounting when they're outside of my classroom, either when it's a face-to-face class or online. I want to show you how I use CengageNOW to keep my students engaged while they're outside of my classroom so that they're ready to be engaged when they come into my classroom. So one of the big things in CengageNOW that I've started using is, what is accounting? I have a lot of business majors that ask the question, why do I need to know this? So I like to get that question answered right off the bat. So under the What is Accounting link that you see here, the students can see 3 videos, and I will show you how I can preview this. So there's 3 videos. The Intro to Accounting, that gives them an overview of what accounting is and what they'll be learning about throughout the semester. They then have to answer a few questions that prove to me that they in fact have watched the video. They then can move on to success strategies. It's one thing for me to tell them that they're going to be successful this year, but it's another thing to hear from prior students that have already taken a financial accounting class to tell them how they can be successful. And again, you see that there's 5 questions that the students have to answer. And the final one in this What is Accounting link is accounting in a math course. Most students have the biggest fear about taking accounting because they're not good at math, and we want to eliminate that fear right off the bat. So here it tells you what accounting is, what math will be involved in this accounting class, and again you'll see that there's 4 questions that the students have to take in order to prove that they've actually watched the video and done the assignment. To keep my students engaged, I like to assign what I call a pre-lecture homework assignment. So this is a way for them to be engaged in the material before they walk into my classroom. That way they've heard about the information before they come in, hear it from me, practice it in the class, so that they're having that repetition, which is so important in the practice and learning of accounting. These are short videos that are broken down by learning objective. I always assign only the learning objective videos on the learning objectives that I know that we're going to cover in class in that next class meeting. Again, these are short videos that the students watch that give an overview of each learning objective and questions that they have to answer. This way they come in and are now asking me questions about those first 3 learning objectives rather than me saying, what is chapter 3 about, and hearing crickets. After a day of in-class work, or even if it's an online class, the next thing that they'll go into is a homework assignment. This one is kind of broken down into smaller examples that will give them a little bit of practice. What I also do is make every homework assignment a prerequisite for the next one to help keep them on track, so that if they haven't watched those pre-lecture homework assignments, they have to do that before they ever get access to their homework assignment. Then I give them a final homework assignment that's a little bit more comprehensive for the entire chapter as we finish out that week. The last thing that I have in here for a chapter is what I call a practice set. What I do is I use a lot of the algorithmic versions of the questions that are at the end of chapter, and I put it into a practice set that the students can take as many times as they want. They can check their work as many times as they want, and every time they submit it and retake it, every one of these questions will populate with new numbers. It gives them an unlimited amount of practice before an exam. So by setting up my course this way, I have really helped keep my students on track, both the students that are in my face-to-face classes and online. And they're coming in more engaged, they're ready to learn, and they're doing better on their tests and quizzes. So this has really helped my students overall achieve a more solid understanding of financial accounting and not be scared of it.